So welcome back, and today I'm back on my 2004 Chevrolet Silverado with the 4.8 four-wheel drive Z71 package, and it has 178,000 miles, and it's broken. That's right, it's broken. So I am having the codes for the knock sensor, so we have to replace that, remove the intake, but as it just so happened, the intake manifold gasket is bad on it. It's common on these trucks, but fortunately, it's a very easy job. It's really not that bad. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into that. But while we're working on it, there's a bunch of while we're in there that we need to take care of because this is a job you really don't want to do it again. So we can knock out as much as we can and make sure that once we change out all these parts, we reduce the chances of having any other future failures later on. So let's go over our parts list. So first things first, while we're in there, the lifter valley gasket, it's a good idea to change it. They do tend to leak. I got this Felpro MS92465, and it also comes with these little seals that's beneath the lifter valley, so not too bad. For our knock sensors, Delphi. Do not go aftermarket junk or anything. Delphi or GM. AC Delcos do make them, but I haven't had success with AC Delcos. Delphi and the original GM, that's typically, I find, the way to go. This is your part number, AS10017-11B1. And they're actually not that bad. I think they're like $30 each. Since we have the intake manifold off, we're going to be changing the fuel injector O-rings, which also Felpro ES73217. And we have our intake manifold gasket. Now, there's three types of these intake manifold gaskets. There's the red ones, which are the original ones from the factory, which fail and are junk, and you can actually still buy them. There's the green ones, which were improved and a lot better, and then there are these, which are even more better. That's even the right word. And these are metal, and the thickness around the mating surface right over here is pretty good. These are the best ones. These are the way to go if you're going to do this job. Nice and thick, nice and heavy, and they should not fail. And from what I read, they're not known to failing. This is the part number, MS98016T as in Tom. And in this gasket, and in this kit, you get O-rings. And in this kit, you get a bunch of other gaskets. We get the throttle body gasket, which I've changed before, but I might go ahead and change that. These O-rings are for the crossover tube. I did order a set for that, and I'll show you in just a sec, but maybe I don't need that, and I can get my money back on that. We'll see. And because some of these versions of these engines have EGR, these are the EGR gaskets for it, so pretty decent kit. Now, another thing while you're in there, oil pressure switch. They do go bad, or they do leak. If you're going to change it, OEM. This is a GM one. It's the part number 126778836. Depending on the version you have, you might have the taller one or the short one. 2004, this is the shorter one. Go OEM. If you go aftermarket, you're going to be redoing the job again. You can remove the oil pressure switch without removing the intake, but it's not as easy or convenient. Now, these are those little O-rings I was talking about, and you really can't see it. We'll see when we get there. But there are these two crossover pipes. I think one in the rear and one in the back. They do have little O-rings. Those are only mostly accessible by taking off the intake manifold. This is the part number ES73027. So we'll see that as soon as we get into there. This is the coolant hose for the throttle body. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is just easier to change while we're in there. This is a Gates part number 18623. The one that's there is kind of hard, so why not? And finally, this is highly recommended. From everything I've read and just from my experience, the wiring harness for the knock sensors. They're single wire, and the issue is because of the heat cycles and just where they sit, and just over the years they become brittle. They can have an internal break inside, which will cause a lot of issues. And you'll never see it and you'll never know it. You'll just have to test wire integrity. So go ahead and order this. I recommend OEM. Some people say the Dormans were good. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Dorman. I do not want to come back and do this job again. So this, unfortunately, was expensive. It was $70. But this is the part number 12601822. If you're going to do this, go OEM. And that's really your best bet. So these are all our parts. Let's go ahead, head over to the truck, and start stripping this engine. So before I dive into things, I want to go ahead and get rid of some of the fuel pressure. And the best way to do it is actually to unplug the fuel pump relay, which is right over here under the fuse box, or the lid of it. Let's see. Yep. Let's take that out. And we're going to go ahead and crank the engine. It should start and die, or it just won't start. But either way, it's not going to turn the pump on. It's going to lose its pressure. Perfect. Because we're going to have to disconnect the fuel rail, and we do not want fuel spraying all over the place and making unnecessary messes. So, put this back in here, and we should be good. And that's our fuel rail right over there. I'm going to start and remove this right over here. This is a, I think it's like a 10 or 8, but I can use a flat and then get the job done. There's another one on the other side over here that actually goes to the air box. In a perfect world, this should slide out. There we go. Start with our throttle body. Okay, now there is like a vent tube or PCV tube right over here. I have replaced this on mine, but they do get brittle, so plan to replace that if you're not able to take it out easy. If you've never taken it out before, you're gonna have to fight with it, but like I said, I've taken mine out. So that could just kind of hang out right over there. All right, we're good. So next thing, this is our purge valve. And what we want to do is, flathead screwdriver is your friend, folks. Now put this clip somewhere safe so you don't lose it, because that's pretty much what holds it together. Let's get this clip out. Maybe. There we go. I think we are going to need to disconnect our alternator one. Why not? Okay. Because we just want to be able to take most of this harness and just slide it over. Now, most of these vehicles, they have a beauty cover. That's an 8mm. I've already taken mine off, but we do need to take out this plate that holds it, I guess. So 10, let's loosen it, not tighten it. Ah, man, can't get back there. Ratcheting wrench to the rescue. Over here, let's get this one out. Also a 10. Freeze all that up. Let's disconnect this connector in the back. Okay. This right over here should snap out. This is for that wiring harness for the knock sensor. There we go. Now our injectors, we're going to go ahead and start unplugging these, which is one right over here. You know, these clips are ridiculous. It has these little plastic pieces which have actually gone flying all over the place, so I'll have to find them. And then these things are just really tight. I get you don't want this to come off while you're driving, but geez. Now we need to disconnect the vacuum hose for the brake booster. It's a little tight to get back there, so I think I'm just going to do it from right over here. But that works. Okay. I think this is 3/8. So let's go ahead and pop you in like so. Yeah. That's why you remove the fuel pump relay and crank it so it has no pressure and that doesn't spew all over the place. So I think what we'll go ahead and do is actually take out the throttle body. These are 10s. There's this hose right over here, the one that we're going to be replacing. And the minute I take that off, it's going to start leaking coolant. So let's see if I can, number one, get it, because it's in a really awkward spot. I should have done this job when I did the timing cover and all that good stuff. Actually, I think that hose actually is not that bad. I thought it had a higher tension clamp, but it's actually pretty easy. Break the seal here. There we go. Probably clean this up a little bit. I cleaned this about maybe 10,000 miles ago, but we'll make it better. Now we should be ready to remove the intake. So these are all 8s. And there's 5 on each side, so 2 in the rear, back, and I'll show you when I take the intake off. 2 in the front over here, 3 in the middle. Now, this is the fun part because we have all this stuff that, you know, wants to join the party. Got to be very careful with this tube. It should feed through under there. I forgot one. Yep. PCV tube. Now mine's coming off easy because I've taken it out before. Wasn't too bad, but definitely learned a few things that I'm going to do different when I put it back together. So I love when I find the smoking gun. So this is what we got right over here. So all this is nice and raised, feels pretty good. Got a flat spot right over here. This one feels perfect. Flat spot right over there. This you can actually see where it was coming out. Flat spot there. So this was the bank. Yeah, this was the bank that was giving me the issues. This one's good. 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 That's just junk that it wiped on. Yeah, so this side is perfect. This one has, yep, flat spot there, flat spot there. So now moving on to this fun stuff. We have to clean all this junk up. These are the originals. Definitely crusty. And yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. And this is what I was talking about while you're in here. There's the oil pressure switch. There are those block plates for these coolant passages. So we'll change the O-rings on that. And I'm pretty sure it's leaking oil from this. Yeah, this valley pan. It's all wet over here, which is pretty cool because I still have a leak underneath, and I've changed everything that typically leaks minus the rear main seal underneath the truck. So oil pressure switch does leak. This is obviously leaking. Yeah, there's a bunch of oil here. We'll have to clean all this mess up. Get some more horsepower going. The only thing that I couldn't change, well, not that I couldn't change, but I wasn't able to find, was that's the cam position sensor. I couldn't find an original one, and the one that I did find was $130, and it was 2 weeks to get here, so it's working, but it's one of those things I would have changed if I was here. So let's get to cleaning. I need to seal these things up to make sure that you don't drop anything down there, so let's do it. Moving on, let's go ahead and get these popped out. Oh wow, this one is filled with a lot of goodies back there. Yep, there's your problem. Water and junk in there. And this is another reason why you replace this harness, because that could be compromised, there could be a break in the wire. This is the original one. Good idea to replace it OEM. Now I'm gonna try to blow this out. That water stinks really bad, so it's been sitting there for a while. I think these are 10, which is weird that the intake is only 8, and something like this would be a 10. Now these should be 7/8. There's one. And these look original, at least the patina matches. That one actually, technically, is still good. Not saying that I'd keep it, but still. Jeez, and bananas. Holy moly. Yeah, it's been getting water for a while. The thing is stuck in there pretty good. Come on. Well, things get tough. You get tougher, right? There we go. Pull out our gasket. We want to get these chunks out of here. Let's get the vacuum. So we still got more cleaning to do, but while we're here, we can go ahead and take out this oil pressure switch. I think this is a 1 1/16. Now this is not bad, mine worked, but it is original and they do leak. I'm not sure if this is leaking or not, but while you're in there, there's definitely a lot of oil right down here. So something was leaking. And now the next question is, the sensor is good. And this is the cam position sensor, but there is an O-ring there. I think I'm going to take it out and change the O-ring because I think I do have O-rings that might fit. Okay, it's cooperating. That's a good thing. What's up, little homie? Ugh, it still stinks.
Sorry. Our neighbor's on his roof.
We got brake part cleaner, so let's some squirts. Get that clean back there. Now for the mating surface, a little Scotch pad. Let's make sure we get rid of any grime and debris. Now there is a ground right over there, which is very important. You can see it right there. We're going to take it off, clean the surface, make sure we have good contact. I think if I'm not mistaken, and I'll correct myself on the screen, I think that one is one of the ones for the PCM. There's a very common ground if you live in the Rust Belt that when it goes bad, I think the PCM or ECM, whatever it's called on this truck, will go out on that. There is another one on the other side of the cylinder head, which I might change out because that one does look a little crusty, but it's crazy how that little ground does a lot for this truck. 13. Man, that surface is just covered with oil. I am going to cheat a little bit. Let's double check the wire integrity. Everything looks good. Now I did find an O-ring that did fit. I just matched it up. It's actually a little snugger than the other one. Just gonna lube it up with some silicone paste. Yeah, it feels good. Snap it right in. And that's the good thing about silicone paste. It gives you that assurance that it's least likely to roll. Go. Nice and snug. Now we take our new oil pressure switch. Let's go ahead and start that. Now the torque spec for that is 15 foot-pounds. All right, ground, new seal on the cam sensor, oil pressure switch, good to go. Might be able to get lucky and pop it out like this. Sweet. Nice. gotta go ahead and slap these in. See if we find a socket. So pop it in. Little silicone paste so everything slides on smooth. All right, we're getting there, Let's go ahead and slap you in. And this is why you put a little bit of silicone. Some people use oil, but that way it slaps it nice and easy. And it doesn't tear. Let's just get these snugged. Let's torque this to 18 foot-pounds. Now for our knock sensors, let's get these started by hand. Now these sensors, they get torqued to 15 foot-pounds. And I can't stress this enough. Torque them. Don't guess. Because you can break them. There's a lot of things to do here. So moving on to these. These are like block offs, I think. And we need to change these little O-rings. There's a little O-ring over there. I'll have to get a pick to fish that out. And we're leaking. I mean, these ain't terrible, but while you're in there, now taking a look at it, looks like it could go either way, so I don't see a specific way for it to go, so why not this way? Another one behind the alternator. Can't get to it. Maybe a little itty bitty 10. Yep, 1/4 inch. Pop it out. Let's grab you, because you gotta go. Same thing on the other side. What in the world? Well, that dropped somewhere down in the abyss. It'll be fine. We'll find it later. So that wraps up everything over here. Now I'm gonna head over to the intake, pop out the gaskets, change out the injector O-rings, and then we could put this back together. So let's head over there. I need a bigger garage, that's for sure. So moving on to the intake. Let's go ahead and get these gaskets off. Kind of need you to come out, buddy. There we go. Ah, clipped onto the sides. Clever. And yep, we got some flat spots. There we go. Guess we'll start just pulling all this off. I mean, you can really go all out cleaning this. I'm just going to go for better than what it was. Nothing too, this would actually be the ideal time. So there is a little upgrade you can do for this. Apparently the Trailblazer SS has a better intake, and you could put that on here, but I mean, this is the 4.8. I'm not going to do any mods really or anything to it. And I'd rather have a 5.3. I think that would benefit it from it more. A 6.0 would be nice, but they're hard to come by lately, especially for a decent price. So I think what I'm going to do is actually strip it and clean it. I took this off and man, this gasket has seen better days. Fortunately, it's not terrible to get to, but might have to consider that. Try to hunt one down. These should be 8s. Let's see, will these come off easy? Yeah. Alright. Now this gasket's still good, but I got a brand new one. Alright, so that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead, take this out back, clean it off, and then when we come back we'll start swapping out these injector O-rings. Alright, now to the fuel injectors. Let's see if we can pop these clips out. Nice. That was a lot more gas than I thought. Well, that was dumb. Note to self, make sure fuel rail is empty. Alright, so we're going to clean these off. Make sure we got no junk over here. Everything looks pretty good. Now these O-rings are probably fine, and you probably don't have to do this, but while you're in there, why not? I did pick up new O-rings, the Felpro. I've read that the blue ones are better. But I couldn't get them in time for this project. So we're going with these. And we're just going to pop these off one by one. Maybe. These are very hard. I mean, I probably still could use them, but we have them. Why not? Just throw this back in like that. Oof. Let's take out the bottom one. Now there are two different sizes, so don't mix them up. I do got a bunch of junk in here. Let's pop in our new one. Just like so. Little silicone paste on it. There we can slide nice and easy. Just like so. Let's pop in our clip. All right, we're good. So I'm gonna go ahead off camera and do this 7 more times, and then we'll be back. Making progress, and intake looks a lot better, almost new. Went ahead and changed all the injector O-rings, but I learned something, that the kit does not include the O-rings for this crossover. Unfortunate. So right now, I'm just gonna hope it doesn't leak. Fortunately, it is something that we can go back and change later, which is a lot easier. So that's cool. So that's ready. That's ready. We need to finish up in here in the sense that we need to go ahead and pop in the wiring harness for the knock sensors. Once again, this thing is in my way. I probably should use a bungee, and I keep forgetting to do that. Now, typically, if you're going to reuse your wiring harness, just slob a bunch of silicone and you're good to go. But we don't have to do that because these are nice and tight and they'll seal pretty good. So we're going to be good there. What I probably will do is put some right over here in this wiring, because that's not fully sealed. I did use some silicone paste, and that helps that sit in pretty good. All right, that looks good. Very nice, very nice. Now we want to make sure that this harness is somewhere where we could have access to it and plug it in later. I'll just leave that right up there, because what will happen is that this will sit right over here, cover that, so we should be good there. All right, so I started in the back, and I forgot to hit the record button, but there is a ground for this wiring harness, and there's also one of those ground straps that goes to the back of the cylinder head, and it's a 15mm bolt. Now, this is the one from the factory. It's not terrible. It's just really soaked in oil over here, and there are some strands that are coming apart. And honestly, that would be a pain in the butt to change with the intake manifold on. So I'm going to go ahead and just put something a little better and use one of these, which I think the bolt should fit. Oh yeah, perfect. So thicker gauge, and should be a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead. It's really hard to get in there and show it. Install this ground. This goes from the back of the cylinder head to the firewall, and at least that's one thing that we don't have to worry about. Let's get our new, thicker, beefier gaskets. Pop them in, and from what I understand, I think I know they only go one way. I think they go on the cylinder head, and they sit there first, which would be like this. Yep. So there's these bolts over here that kind of hold them in place. Let's make sure these are seated. Yep. So when you put these in, make sure they're sitting all the way down. Make sure that comes around. Now, unfortunately, I was unaware that the intake manifold bolts have these grommets on it, so I don't have them. So we're gonna have to reuse them, which I'm not a huge fan of that, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. I wonder if I should have installed these first, because that's not even catching. Okay, so I'm an idiot. That's for the injectors. This is for the intake manifold. So I'm going to lube these up with some silicone, maybe help them seal a little bit better. They seem pretty pliable. They don't look bad, but I think we should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in, hand tighten them. I'll post the torque sequence on the screen. I'll post the torque specs on the screen, and then we'll move on to the fuel rail and just plugging everything up. So first things first, we got to prime the fuel system and make sure that we got no fuel leaks. That would be bad. All right, pumps kicked on. All right, I don't smell gas. Well, besides me being covered in gas, but I don't see anything leaking or puking out. I just realized what's wrong. I forgot to plug in the vacuum hose for the brake booster. So I did notice that the idle was a little high. I just couldn't figure it out. But yeah, this is a big vacuum leak. It's got a miss. It's running a little rough. It might just be stuff that fell in there, so I'm gonna let it run for a little bit, probably take it around the cul-de-sac, and we'll see if it smooths out. Folks, we got power. Oh yeah. So I let it idle for about 20 minutes, and after that, it smoothed out, so probably just burned off whatever was in there or whatever I may have dropped in there. But just going up this hill, it would struggle before, and the truck wasn't always like this. This whole reduced power and knock sensor thing is new. Well, I didn't get the reduced power. Did I get the reduced power? I can't remember. But man, my little 4.8, she's moving. She's feeling really good. And the best part too, the check engine light hasn't come back on. So that was a hard fault. Every time I would turn the truck on, the check engine light would just pop right on immediately. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good. Let's get back to the house, see how much fluid we lost. But other than that, she's fixed. Now, if you're going to do this job, like I talked about this, there's a lot of while you're in there that I do recommend, because taking off the intake manifold, it is easy to do, but you really don't want to be doing that like crazy. Rather just knock everything out while you're in there and just do it once, do it right, and you should be good. Definitely recommend getting those intake manifold gaskets from the metal ones. Installation was a breeze. They're a lot better. They're supposed to last longer, and the rubber part is actually a lot thicker compared to the green one and the red one. So definitely something to consider. But overall, it's not a bad job. If you didn't do all the while you're in there that I was in there, it would save a lot of time, especially with the fuel injectors. If you're not changing the O-rings, that does save a lot of time. So if you have a Chevy Silverado, Chevy Tahoe, GMC Sierra of this vintage, I think what the GMT 400 from 99 to 2007.5 or something like that. Knock sensors go bad, intake manifold gaskets do go bad. Replace them and truck should run fine. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and let me go fix something else.